Okay, here we are in the lug nut haying business. We're in the production profile tab, which is laying out how much value our lug nut haying business is going to produce this year. We're going to harvest 350 acres and put up 400 tons of hay. We're going to value that hay at $110 a ton, which will total out at $44,000 worth of value that the lug nut haying business is going to produce. That's at just over a ton per acre. We're also going to come back through and do some aftermath grazing, but we can't attribute that to the haying business. We're going to attribute that to a different enterprise. All right. So the Lug Nut Ranch haying business produced $44,000 worth of value. We had some costs associated with producing that value. Obviously, the one up top here, some of you might not be so familiar with. We're going to charge our haying business $20,000 for that forage cost. Okay, so if you're doing some haying on shares or outside custom haying, then that's a cash cost to you guys. If you're not, it's an economic cost, right? But we're acknowledging that there's value in that forage. Those payments are going to be made to our land business because we know that we have the opportunity to sell that grass somewhere else, right? So we're going to charge our haying business that market value. A trick to kind of get you in the ballpark, whatever you're paying for your AUM least pasture rate, just double that and that'll be close to your standing forage value. All right, so if you're paying 25 bucks an AUM pasture rate, double that and you'll get your standing forage per ton value to charge yourself. We have some other production costs: fertilizer, twine, utilities, trucking, marketing. Hired labor, we'll handle that in the overhead section. Fuel, remember this is just the haying business's share, okay? So some of these costs, utilities and fertilizer, you'll notice are zeros. The way I like to look at it is as though the land business is growing that forage. They're responsible for all the costs associated with growing the forage, and the haying business is responsible for everything after that, right? Harvesting that forage and putting it up as dryland hay. If it makes more sense to you guys to put some of these costs in the haying business than the land business, that's fine. Just make sure that you charge yourself once for all these costs, but don't double charge yourselves for them, all right? This business is hard enough as it is. Okay, so our operating or production costs for the hay business are $84 per ton. We had some overhead costs associated with putting that hay up. We allocated $50,000 worth of our buildings to our haying business. Took that by an 8% annual depreciation and repair. That's 10 bucks a ton, right? That the haying business is going to have to contribute towards maintaining and replacing our buildings on our place. We allocated quite a bit of equipment to our haying business. Took that by a 13% annual depreciation and repair. That's 68 bucks a ton that the haying business is going to have to contribute towards maintaining and replacing our equipment that we allocated to our haying business on our place, right? Opportunity interest on equipment. As always, opportunity, we're in the world of economics. That $210,000 that we allocated to our haying business, if we were no longer in the haying business, we were able to reinvest that capital somewhere else, could we get some sort of a return for that? Hopefully so, right? We're going to charge our haying business the opportunity cost because we lost the ability to reinvest that capital somewhere else by being in the haying business, right? We had some other overhead, and then we had some labor that we allocated to our haying business. So $163 worth of overheads. In summary, here's our value of production, right? The Lug Nut Ranch produced $44,000, valued at 110 bucks a ton. We had some production costs, some overhead costs. Our total cost to put up a ton of hay, or our unit cost of production, was $247 per ton. That looks like the Lug Nut Ranch lost 137 bucks per ton. Now, I realize that looks pretty tough, right? But let me reiterate that we're in the world of economics. We have some economic costs associated with that. This is not necessarily our cash flow, okay? So one is that we charged ourselves $50 a ton for that forage. Okay, so that's not a cash cost for those of you who own your places. That's an economic cost, right? You don't have to write a check for that. Also, an opportunity cost on equipment. That's not a cash cost either, right? And that's a significant contribution to those overhead costs. One thing that I also would like to bring up here is look up here at the value of production for the Lugnut Ranch, $44,000, right? They put up, what was it, 400 tons of hay. I think they're going to have a tough time making that pencil out with as much equipment as they had allocated to their haying business. All right, those overhead costs are killing them, obviously, and I think it may be a scale issue, at least in part, with the Lugnut Ranch. It seems like they need to be running that equipment over more acreage or putting up more tonnage of hay and creating more value to be able to disperse those overheads and get those down to a manageable level, right? So it looks like they're over-equipped for the amount of value that they're producing. That's just food for thought. That's the haying business. The land business is next.